Hey everyone, welcome to the Tune Supply teaching series. Today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite reels, a session standard called the Earl's Chair. So if you don't know it already, this would be a great one to learn for when we get back to playing sessions together at Mario's or whatever your local pub may be, or just to play along on the virtual sessions in coming weeks. It's a great tune, very widely played, so I'm going to play through it a couple of times for you now just to get a feel for it, up to tempo and a little bit slower, and then we'll break it down phrase by phrase. All right, here we go. So there you have it, the Earl's Chair. Obviously, as a fiddle player, I'm going to be getting into a few fiddle-specific tips and tricks that I can offer you, but of course, this is open to players of all instruments. I will mention a few things about bowing, obviously, which is very important for fiddlers. I'm a big sushi fan, and most people think about the fish when they think of sushi. I think similarly to how people would think of the violin when it comes to fiddling. But I heard a quote that the rice is really the most important thing. That's the 90% importance in sushi. And I think the bowing is 90% important when it comes to fiddling. So we'll talk about some slurring ideas that not only will apply to this tune, but you can apply to any reel that you set out to learn, a few general ideas that I like to apply that people who have taken lessons with me will have heard time and time again. And for all instruments, we'll talk about some variations and some ornamentation that we can incorporate into this tune. And you all should have received a piece of sheet music that I edited a bit and marked up with some ideas. So I'm a big proponent of learning by ear, but I do find especially for online learning, that a hybrid kind of solution works very well. So I'm open to all styles of learning. So if the dots help you, that's great, and it'll just help us stay on the same page, so to speak. So the way I like to do things, whether you're looking at the sheet or not, is just to take a phrase at a time and go over it, talk about it. If we were doing a lesson one-on-one, we would work on it over and over again. But seeing as how this is a YouTube video, you can always go back and replay a segment. So I won't spend as much time on it in this setting. But hopefully it'll be helpful to fiddle players and all of you, no matter what instrument you play. It's a great tune and a lot of fun to play in sessions. And there's a lot of room to do your own thing with it, add some fun variations and stuff like that. So we'll think about where we might put in some original ideas like that as we move through it. So here's the first. I'll play through the A part. I'll play through the whole part, and then we'll break it down from there, okay? So here it is. That's pretty much it. Now there's this central motif that repeats again and again. So once we get that down, you're going to have most of the first part down already. And that's this first measure, which repeats 4 times, I think. So for the fiddle players out there, you'll notice that I played that same phrase with 2 different slurring patterns. You're welcome to use either or. Here's the first one. We'll start, and I notated it as such as well, for those of you following along with the sheet music. I wrote out the first and second measures a little bit differently, just to show you that you have options. There are always at least 2 or 3 fine ways to bow a phrase. So I just wanted to show you a couple of choices that you have here. So here's that first phrase again. Let's try and play it together. Ready? 2, 3, 4. So when it comes to bowing, you can do it with either just that 2-note slur, which I showed in the second measure there. You can do it that way both times, or you can do it with, this is maybe a slightly more advanced version, with a 2-note slur from the quarter note into the first eighth note, and then a 3-note up bow slur. That 3-note up bow slur is a very common and important thing that we use a lot in reels. So either one of these works just fine, but to do that 3-note up bow slur, we've got 2 Bs. So we need to put a grace note in between them to separate them, right? So we go... So you can use any combination of those 2 bowing patterns for the fiddlers out there for those first 2 measures. So let's play those 2 a couple more times together. Ready? 2, 3, 4. If you want to play it a little bit simpler, the nice thing about that 2-note slur version is you don't have to do the grace note if you don't want to. Nice and clean, nice and simple like that. With the 3-note slur, you really do need the grace note to separate those notes. So anyway, that's a very important phrase there because that happens throughout this first part. Let's look at the next phrase. We've got an F sharp roll, second finger roll on the D string for the fiddlers. Let's just look at the roll on its own real quick before we get into that third measure. So I'm sure many of you are well familiar with rolls, but just really quick for those who may not be, a roll to me has 5 components. There's the note that you're rolling, the F sharp in this case. Then we grace with the note above it. Then you go back to the note, 1 note under, and then back to the note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 components to it. So you got the grace above the note, the grace above, back to the note under, and back to the note. The most important thing about that is you want to, no matter what instrument you're playing, you want to hang on to that first note of the roll. That is the most important note of it. That's the note that you're rolling. So give that a little bit more emphasis. Right? So this third measure is, so it's just open A, F sharp roll, open D, F sharp roll. And it's going to start on a down bow. So we go down, up, roll, down, up, roll. Okay, ready? And again, 3, 4. Looking at the next measure, this is like the archetype of real bowing for me. And I know it is something that Caitlin stresses with her students a lot as well. It's this 3-3-2 pattern of bowing, which those of you who have taken any lessons with me before know that I talk about this a lot. Anytime we have 8 eighth notes in a measure, we can always throw a 3-note slur in that measure somewhere. One of the most common places to do it is right in the middle of the measure. So we play the first 3 notes separate, we slur the middle 3 on the up bow, and then we do down up for the last 2. Now there are also other places to put a 3-note slur, including over the bar line into the next measure, which we will see at other points in this tune. You could also maybe do it on the last 3 notes of the measure. Some of that depends on bow distribution and string crossings, but in this case, I think that this classic 3-3-2 pattern works pretty well here. So we're going to try that. Just in general, I tell people to stay away from 2-note slurs when it comes to these measures of 8 eighth notes. That's just going to complicate things in my mind. It turns your bowing around. You're going to need 2-note slurs to balance each other out. It's just a whole can of worms we don't want to get into right now. Sometimes, occasionally, it has its place, but we're just going to focus on 3-note slurs anytime we have all eighth notes running through a measure, okay? So here's that measure again. 2, 3 together. Another important thing to note about that 3-note slur there is that we want to emphasize the middle note of the slur. Always the middle note, because that is the downbeat. So we want to give that a little extra pull, a little extra hold to give it that kind of ever so slightly dotted feel. And that will also make sure that the tune does not sound rushed. So it goes. So no matter what instrument you're playing, this is bowing aside, regardless of bowing, we want to emphasize those 2 A's. Those are those foot tapping beats right there, okay? So let's put that together with the measure before, with the A F sharp roll, D F sharp roll, and then we'll do that 3-3-2 bowing pattern for the fiddle players out there. Ready? And all right, again, 3, 4. Okay, so we have the whole first line for those of you following along with the sheet music. So here it goes. Let's try and play those 4 measures, the first line, all together. We can ignore the pickup note for now. We're just going to start on a down bow, as we always will, 99% of the time. You can almost always assume that we'll start a reel on a down bow, unless there's some unusual circumstances, okay? Ready? 2, 3, 4. All right, let's try that again. 3, 4. Okay, if you want to go back over that, you're welcome to just rewind the YouTube, but we're going to go on to the second line now, which conveniently just starts with those same 2 measures as the beginning of the tune. So we got familiar territory here. Okay, we know that, but now it takes a different turn to get to the ending of the first part. And here is one of those instances where I'd like to do a 3-note slur across the bar line now. So this is where it goes a little different. We got those same first 2 measures. And then into the repeat. So that is the last 2 measures with the first ending repeating to the beginning of the tune. So let's take that. We're going to take it from the last note of the second measure on the second line, which starts on an up bow. Those 3-note slurs almost always, 99% of the time, start on up bows. So we're going to go... And again, we're emphasizing that middle note of the slur. That's the downbeat. That's the first beat of the next measure. Let's just work on that much for now, and then we'll look at the ending. Ready? 2, 3, 4. 2, 3 again. 2, 3, 4. Same bowing pattern now. We're going to slur 3 notes up into the next measure. Important fingering thing here for the fiddle players. Leave your 3rd finger down there on that 3rd finger on the A string, the D note, because we're just going right back and forth to it. We're going to the open E and right back to it. You notice there I like to do a little slide into that D quarter note after the E, F. So we got our little 3-note slur. Little slide maybe. So we're going to go 3, 2, 3. So we're going to go 3, 2, D, C sharp on the down bow. And that finishes off the first part. So that together is... Ready, 2, 3, and 2, 3 again. Okay, so that's the whole A part right there. Let's just look at that second line. It sounds like this. All right, let's slow that down. Try it all together. Ready? Second line. 3, 4. And we're back to the beginning. All right, let's try the whole first part. Ready? 2. Pull up my sheet music there. All right. 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's the whole thing. That's the whole A part. Now, let's look at the second ending. We're going to do that same slur. It's just the very end of it that's different, where we're going to just slur a triplet. 1, 2, 3. All right? So let's try the whole A part with both endings now, okay? 2, 3, 4. Repeat. Second ending. Here's the B part. Nice. That's it. You'll hear I'm a fan of throwing in a couple of double stops there, which we'll talk about for the fiddle players. They're pretty handy. They're pretty easy ones, really. Just open strings right there. So for the E, we're just gonna hit the open A along with it. And then if you want, you can actually also hit the open D along with that third finger D to make an octave there. You don't have to. Or you could play both of them just straight. You know, that's fine as well. But just to tell you what I'm doing there, I often just hit those neighboring open strings. And then there's another one we'll talk about in a minute. So here we go. Here's the first phrase. Let's break that down. Open, 1, 3. Now we've got one of those 3-note slurs again over the bar line. All right, now that of course starts on the up bow. Let's try that together. 3 and. All right, let's put that whole phrase together. 3, 4. All right, third measure. That's just a bunch of 3-note slurs in a row right there. You'll see how important they are to my style of playing. And I'll point out another thing in context here. Okay, we've just played the first finger there on the A string, that B. That's the last note of that second measure of the B part. That's why I like to do a double stop there of a B underneath the E. And then you just leave it down. You leave that first finger down for that whole thing. You get a cool double stop. And it's there for this next slur. You just leave it down. So we go 3, 1, open, 1, leave that 1 down. Right? So that's a double stop that's just built in for you there. It's, you know, the finger is already in position. You just have to make sure that your first finger is coming straight down onto the string there, that it's leaving that E string unobstructed, you know, that it's not accidentally hitting the E string and dampening it. So we got. Here's that second phrase. Let's leave the double stop off for now. I've explained it. You can do it if you want, but here's the basis of the tune. Ready? 3, 4. Three, 4. You can throw a grace note in there if you want. Right here. A little flick of the second finger. A G grace note. Again, 3, 4. Second part is less repetitive than the first part. So moving on, here's the last line. There's a little bit of repetition. I guess the last measure there is the same as the last measure on the third line, but yeah, the second part is a little bit more windy than the first part, I guess. So here's that last line again. Let's break that down now. Let's just look at that much, measure and a half. We go open E, 1, 3, 1 roll. Leave that first finger there because we're coming right back. We're going to go to second finger on the E string and back to another 1 roll. Ready? And... right? That's a little trick there to leave that first finger down. Ready? And... 3, open 1, 2, 3. We'll move on to that next phrase now. We'll take it from that D, the third finger, starting on a down bow. We're going right up the scale. And we're going to do one of those 3-note slurs over the bar line. That last measure is familiar to us. Let's just look at that whole phrase. We'll try and bite off a bigger chunk this time. Ready? Now, you don't always have to do those 3-note slurs. That's the nice thing about them, is that they're kind of mix and match. They don't affect the bowing direction. So you could play some of that single bow if you want. Just like I said, don't put 2-note slurs in there, okay? So you could do single. That time I only did 1 out of those 3-note slurs that I marked on the sheet music. So, whatever you like to do there, you can mix and match. Let's go through that phrase a couple more times, and then we've got the whole second part, and we've got the whole tune. All right? Ready? 1, 2. One, two. Okay, so again, if you need to go back, go ahead. But now let's move on and play the whole B part together. Okay, ready, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. back to the top. Little fast. Whoops. So I'll just do a quick pass now. That's it. That's the whole tune. I'll do a quick pass with a couple of variation ideas for anyone who wants to, you know, maybe they'll inspire some ideas of your own, or if you want to try and cop some of these, maybe you can go back and do that little 75% or 50% speed thing on the YouTube and slow it down. I'm just gonna play whatever occurs to me, you know, and we'll see what happens. I'll talk about it a little bit. That's a short roll there. We have to slur out of it. Well, thanks so much for sticking with me through the Earl's Chair, and I hope you enjoyed that. And that last pass there was, you know, just to show you that the sheet music is a great reference and very helpful when you're getting down the bones of the tune, the real structure of it. But by no means should you feel that you are tied down to it. It can be a real help to a certain point, and then it can kind of hold you back. So it's all about just getting it in your head, however you do that best, whether it be by ear, which is the best way for me personally. But then sometimes, the sheet music can help to fill in a few blanks, but you just got to play it many, many, many times over. Listen to it many, many times over, especially if this is a new tune to you. It's probably familiar, at least to many of you. Just get it in your head and then experiment with it a little bit, Go off the track for even just a beat or two, and you come back on. That's my idea about variation. I don't go too crazy with it, but I like to kind of veer around the path of the tune here and there. So again, thanks so much. I really enjoyed this. I enjoy teaching, and I've found that teaching online has been really great over these past few months. So I'm always up for it. If anyone is interested in private or group classes, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thanks again. Thanks to Tune Supply. Take care.